Please join me in welcoming Governor Kasich.
Well, I have been to Cleveland so many times, I sometimes feel like I ought to get a second home up here. And I want to tell you where this affinity, maybe even love for Cleveland comes from. I grew up in a little town outside of Pittsburgh called McKees Rocks, and it was a blue-collar, ethnic town, and my father carried mail on his back for almost 30 years. My mother and father loved to take us, the kids, along with my Aunt Betty and my Uncle Harry and my cousin Harry, and we would go to the lake. Every year we would just load up the car and we'd pile in the car and we would head to Ohio. And I can remember as though it was yesterday, and this was many, many years ago, whenever we crossed into Ohio, my Uncle Harry would say, "Johnny, we've just entered the promised land." And we would come up to the Cleveland area. And I loved the lake, and I loved the amusement park, and I loved the beaches. Probably fell in love with the lake more than anything else. And I have viewed Ohio as the promised land. And I've viewed Cleveland as really two different sides of the same coin with the town where I grew up. I mean, I love to come to Cleveland. Yesterday, Little Italy, the ethnic neighborhoods throughout the city, and the great business leaders, Beth Mooney, Joe Roman, who has been the head of this organization for a very, very long time and very effectively. The leadership at Sherwin-Williams over the years. I mean, so many fantastic, Sandy Cutler, Don Washkowitz. We can go on and on and on about the leadership in this community. When I came into office, I promised that I would do everything I could to partner with the leaders in Northeast Ohio and in Cleveland to see what we could do to lift this city even farther. One of the first things that happened when I was elected is I had a great meeting with Frank Jackson. Well, actually, the first time I tried to talk Frank Jackson into going over to the football stadium and sliding down the big ramp. He didn't take me up on that, but he did give me some hot chocolate in his office and showed my daughters around. But one of the most important meetings that I've ever had in my entire career was when Frank Jackson and Eric Gordon and Albert Ratner came to my office to talk about the Cleveland schools and the school reform. Frank Jackson is a fantastic guy. Growing up in the neighborhoods of Cleveland, never trying to take credit, never needing to have the spotlight. He came to my office with Eric and said, "We want to revolutionize the Cleveland schools. And we want to do it for the children who live in Cleveland. Would you help us?" By the way, Ron Richard was in that room as well, which is another unbelievable organization you have in this town. I looked at the mayor and I said, "Mayor, if I have to walk over hot coals to help you, I will do it." The Cleveland Reform Plan is so vital to this city. It is vital to this state, and I really believe it is vital to this country. What we are doing in Cleveland, ladies and gentlemen, what is happening in Cleveland is the Cleveland schools have been directed now to serve the children of Cleveland. Eric Gordon is an amazing leader for these schools. And I have to tell you that as we walk through the reform plan, there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be a few roadblocks. There's going to be some controversy, but at all times, there's going to be change. And ladies and gentlemen, what is more important than to take on the responsibility of building a school system that can ensure our children's future and allow them to realize their God-given purpose and their God-given talents? I want to tell you tonight that we need to stand with Eric Gordon through thick and thin. I want to compliment the union in the Cleveland schools who work very closely with Eric and need to continue to work with Eric. I also want to commend the business community for their involvement and their partnership, and it needs to even grow stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can pull off, and I say we, if we can pull off this school reform, this is going to be one of the greatest contributions, in my judgment, that the city of Cleveland will give to the United States of America. We cannot fail, and we will not fail, will we? We will make this work, and we will put our kids first until we solve all of these problems. I told you that I love the lake. Well, the lake is a great jewel. It needs to be protected, and it needs to be showcased. You know, just this morning, I signed a bill that will allow you to walk out these doors and walk immediately across a bridge to the lakefront. It's going to be fantastic. And then in addition to that, we were able, again, working with the mayor of the city of Cleveland, we were able to restore the lakefront parks to the rightful place where they belong, and that is to the city of Cleveland, and we'll maintain a strong partnership to make sure that our parks are the places where our families can go and love the beauty of this great Lake Erie. Shoreway Drive, the mayor again said, important. Mr. Ratner said, we've worked on it, and Joe Roman said, I think for 50 years. And now all of a sudden, in a short period of time, yeah, we're going to slow it down and we're going to slow down the traffic and create a boulevard that's going to connect the neighborhoods and showcase the city of Cleveland. And I remember the day we announced it, I stood on the bank with the mayor and we looked at the beautiful skyline. Cleveland has a beautiful skyline, and it needs to be appreciated. And so being able to do economic development and to be able to take care of the needs, the recreational needs of the citizens of this town, we are now beginning to display this lake in a way that can become an attraction for people not just in Ohio, but for people around the country. Infrastructure. Yeah, I was the one that said perhaps that turnpike ought to produce more value for the people of Ohio, and that we should only be married to one entity, our husbands or our wives, and not to the turnpike as well. And we moved forward with a lot of criticism being directed at us. But you know, in politics, if you want to spend your time thinking about the naysayers, you'll get nothing done. So we took a look at the turnpike and we wondered, should we sell it? Should we lease it? But is there another plan that might work? And so we issued bonds, and we can use the revenues and tolls from the turnpike to pay off those bonds, and it has generated another $1 billion in infrastructure for people around the state, and we anticipate an additional $2 billion that will flow our way. And it wasn't long ago that we've been able to move projects up that looked as though they could not be completed for 20 years. And I remember Barbara Snyder saying to me, the president of Case Western, brought up the Opportunity Corridor. Could we have the Opportunity Corridor? I said, Barbara, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is a difficult thing to achieve. Well, guess what? The seeds have been planted to develop the Opportunity Corridor, to connect this city, connect it with some of the most valuable resources we have in this city, bringing in UH, bringing in the Cleveland Clinic, Case Western. And think about, as this corridor gets open, it's called the Opportunity Corridor because it will provide opportunity for people who today do not have jobs, and it will be an opportunity for economic development unlike anything this city has seen in a very, very long time. And I hope you appreciate it and are excited about this Opportunity Corridor because it puts us in the 21st century.